I want to talk to you about a growing fascistic movement with actual teeth attached to it. This isn't like, oh, he's a fascist. I will show you what they're doing that is literally fascistic in nature, literally by the actual dictionary definition of the word fascism. Let me start with this. If we were building nuclear power plants and we were encouraging hydrogen use for our automobiles, I would be so deep into it. It is the answer. Between nuclear power, which is the cleanest and safest form of energy the world has ever seen. Stu, can you back that up? The safest form of energy in the history of the world.
Yes, I agree with that analysis.
Okay, thank you for those stats.
You just said it was the safest.
Color man. He's a good color.
Yes, Glenn, confirmed. Well, number one on the list. I don't know what stat you want to go. The number one is...
No, because I know you're into these things.
Yeah,
no, I know you're into these things, and I know that you have looked through the history. Everybody thinks it's so dangerous, but it is not.
Yeah.
It's not dangerous, especially in the United States. So if we were pursuing this and opening these babies up and letting them run at full capacity at night, and when nobody's using electricity, making hydrogen for our cars, it would be a miracle. It would be a miracle. It would be everything we're looking for. Good for the planet, safe, effective, and we could move on with our lives. We would be world leaders, again, in almost everything if we just did that. But that's not what we're doing. Instead, we are doing solar panels and wind power. Let me tell you about solar panels. If solar panels were something that would work, I'd be all for solar panels. This broadcast is being powered now by solar, wind, and natural gas. Natural gas only if we get into trouble and we don't have enough power for the broadcast. But it has taken me 11 very long and expensive years to get the solar panel system up, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is not something the average American or the average company can do. I'd love to have the Blaze be the first green network that was all solar energy and wind power, but it's impossible to do. It's too expensive, and it's not reliable. I can't tell you how, if you are listening to this broadcast today, you're hearing delays. And the reason why you're hearing delays is I don't have internet. I am here on an isolated kind of mountaintop, and I don't have all of the electricity, all of everything coming in. I have to create everything myself. So we're having to use all kinds of different technology. And let me tell you, when you come off the grid, when you start to do things differently, you almost have to reinvent everything. Right now, my farm, we bought our diesel fuel for our tractors. We spent filling that tank up, that underground tank. We spent as much money filling it up once this spring as we spend filling it up all summer long into the fall last year. This cannot last. But is Biden doing anything about it? No. Instead, what he is doing is fascistic. Yesterday, he invoked the Defense Production Act. Not for oil, not for diesel, not for anything, but for solar panels. Do you know how long and how much money it will take to get solar panels, enough of them, into play to defray any of your costs for heating? By the way, If you live in Seattle, fat chance. Good luck to you. You live where it's cloudy and snowy, good luck. I have these gigantic solar panels to be able to put this broadcast in my house online, and you still have to change all the light bulbs. You have to change everything. It is literally, I'm my grandfather. You don't need that light. Why do you have that light on? Grandpa, it's really not costing us. Put the light off. I've become that guy because you just run out. In the winter, you have to go out and you have to scrape all of the ice and the snow off of your solar panel. This is not something America is prepared to do. But because we have a global warming crisis and a power crisis that is growing, yesterday, Biden invoked something for the second time in his term that hasn't been used since the Korean War. It is the Defense Production Act. And here's what it does. It allows the president to have emergency powers to tell companies exactly what they can and cannot do. That is the definition of fascism. Now, are we okay with that? Is this what we want? A guy who has destroyed everything he has touched, now running our companies and our businesses and telling us what we can and cannot produce. That's what he did yesterday. He also did something else. He waived all of the solar tariffs yesterday. This is a massive win for China. China makes most of the solar panels, okay? They do most of the technology. Why? Because no matter what anybody tells you, solar energy is very dirty for the earth. You can't really make them here in America because the EPA would lose their mind. But in China, you can do whatever you want. So now they have not only most of all of the minerals that are needed to make these solar panels, they can make them with slaves, and they can make them in hellholes that they don't care about the environment at all. But we had some really bad tariffs against these solar panels, and so now we have to get rid of those. So now the Chinese have us by the you-know-what on solar panels. Russia has us by the same things now on energy. Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and Russia have all of the control of the oil. And are they helping us? Of course not. Of course not. Meanwhile, we leave all of our resources, all of our minerals, all of our companies, all of the brains that we have, all of the brawn that we have, all of the oil and natural gas resources in the ground. Is this who we want to become? By the way, this is not the only emergency. I'm telling you, I will be shocked if by the end of the year we don't hear coming out of the president's mouth a declaration of a national global warming emergency. That will give him all kinds of power. They are already setting it up. That's what they're using here for this directive, a climate emergency. We're going to have a food emergency by the end of the year as well. I don't know if you've been following this, but please do. We're about now 8 weeks away from knowing for sure what's going to happen. Yesterday, we had Russia bomb one of the ports where a lot of the Ukrainian wheat leaves. NATO, the United Nations, and we have even hinted that if they block the Russian wheat, the Ukrainian wheat, steal the Ukrainian wheat, destroy the Ukrainian wheat, or stop boats from picking it up and shipping it to the rest of the world, that will be an act of war. Well, we are 12 weeks away from that. 8 weeks now. And the former NATO chief yesterday said, you are going to see another front open in the Ukrainian conflict. It will include escorting grain tankers in and out of Odessa. He said, I think that will be taken by the United Nations, by NATO, and the United States and our allies. But it will be a new front in the war that will emerge over the next few weeks. When that happens, anything that goes wrong with that wheat, if Russia doesn't let it out of Ukraine, if we lose a ship of that wheat prices will go through the roof and starvation will happen in Africa. What happens to our military when all of Africa is on fire because they're starving to death? Why is our government taking on diesel right now and saying, no, we got to get away from this petroleum stuff? Why are they doing it when starvation is around the corner because of war? We cannot, as Americans, stand by while the world starves, and we have the ability to do something about it. But for the very first time, we have seen now Germany send an airlift of baby food to Texas this week. And you're about to see the most charitable, the most giving, the most powerful nation on the planet not have the ability to help feed starving people all around the world. And I love the fact that the Biden administration is saying this is not going to affect the United States and the hunger here in the United States. Are you out of your mind? We're not going to be starving here in the United States, but if you think that a third of the world could be starving to death and we're going to be paying normal, even half rational prices for food, you're crazy. Oh, and by the way, it won't just be Africa. It will also be Central America. It'll be parts of Mexico and South America. So don't worry about any problems on our border. This is what's coming, and it's coming this fall. Please, America, prepare.